Continuiamo a parlare di arte, di quella visual questa volta. È venuta a parlarci qui sul palco della Maker Faire un artista molto particolare che realizza lavori digitali e virtuali attraverso le reti neurali artificiali. Sofia Crespo. Welcome.
Hello everyone, and thank you for having me here. And I would like to start by asking you to imagine a color that you've never seen before. Is that even possible? Embarrassingly enough, I have tried a lot of times to do that, and I never get tired of it. I wonder, is there any color that I can imagine that I have never seen out there? And wonderfully, one day I found out that there are creatures out there that can see colors that we aren't able to see. And as an artist, I wonder, as a visual artist, I wonder, what do the world look like to these creatures? For instance, the peacock mantis shrimp that you're seeing here. They have 12 to 13 photoreceptors, whereas we have only 3. That's like a lot more than we are able to see. So just imagine what the world looks like to these creatures. Okay, where am I trying to go with all of this? Some years ago, already like 3 or 4 years ago, I was introduced to machine learning. And I found out that one can create art using AI. I knew that there were some artists out there doing it, but once I started doing it, I became really obsessed with trying to figure out how I can use AI to learn about my own cognitive processes, to learn about how I see the world. And AI is kind of a mystified term in popular culture. Neural networks are just pattern extraction tools. They're just algorithms that are able to extract patterns from any data set that you give them. But that also means that they have a very limited imagination. AI cannot imagine anything that it hasn't seen before. It cannot imagine anything that isn't contained within a data set. So that means there is a discrete boundary to not just AI's imagination, but also our imagination. And when I was very young, when I was 5 years old, I went to a 3D cinema with my parents, and I saw a jellyfish in 3D swimming really close to me. And for some reason, I got really, really scared. I thought for a moment that jellyfish was real and that it was going to attack me. And long story short, as a teenager, I developed a real phobia to jellyfish, so I wouldn't go in the water when I saw there were jellyfish there. And later on in life, as an artist, I found myself being really inspired by the textures of jellyfish, and I couldn't understand why until my mom repeated to me this story from my childhood. So that means that I transformed something that I lived to create art with it. And similarly, I create a data set for a neural network to learn the textures of jellyfish and extract them for me so that I can make up my art. And these are some of the artworks that I make. These are from a series called Neural Zoo, which started in 2018. And a lot of them are just textures using a technique called texture synthesis and a neural network called a convolutional neural network. I use them to create like dreamy ocean textures and to just combine these textures that I liked so much. Of course, like there's a big part of the process which is curatorial, because in generative art, we can always generate thousands of iterations of each of these images. And in fact, I do have thousands of different variations, but these are the ones that I chose because I liked. So I like to believe that there's a very intuitive aspect to all sorts of generative art as well. For that reason, I disagree with the idea that the artist is the AI. I think the artist is always human. And it is humans who have written all these new algorithms and who have developed these new technologies. So Neural Zoo eventually evolved into a collection of different creatures, not just jellyfish and aquatic, but also birds and insects. And it eventually became a series of another series that reflects on how we saw the world before we were able to photograph it. Before we had cameras, humans had to look at nature and take patterns from it that seemed relevant to study for biology or for an archive, and to illustrate them by hand. So I wanted to kind of merge these two worlds and create new works with them, dreaming new speculative forms of natural history. So I'd just like to leave you with a question of what is the true boundary of imagination, and what does augmented creativity look like? Not just in the future, but now, right now, in the present. Thank you.
Thank you, Sofia Crespo.